All right, first, the plane. Soon after Iran fired missiles on U.S. forces in Iraq, a passenger plane lit up in Iran's sky and went down in a ball of flames. Why? New evidence indicates Iran shot down Ukrainian Flight 752 with 2 surface-to-air missiles made by Russia. The U.S. apparently saw Iranian radar signals or radar signatures locking onto the jetliner before it was shot down, along with satellite and other data. Canada also says it has intel that the plane was shot down but may have been unintentional. Can something like this happen by accident? The families of the 176 victims, they deserve answers. Iran has gone back and forth with the defenses. They did it. They're not going to talk about it. Their desire to share data. Now we have more evidence ourselves. We have new video obtained by CNN. Joining us now to help us walk through it. What does it mean? What does it mean going forward? CNN military analyst Major General James Spider Marks. Spider, thank you. And CNN safety analyst David Soucie, a former FAA safety inspector. Thank you, David. You walked us through what we knew at the time last night. You said we needed more. Now we have it. Specifically this, okay? This is the video of what we have. You guys ready? I'm going to play it full. I also have it in slow. All right, quick, again. Let's try it again. Ready? Here it is again, if you're watching at home. Watch for this little blip, which is believed to be something obviously approaching the plane. Then you'll see impact. Ready? And again. All right? Now, here it is. We took the time to slow it down for you. And listen, I'm not trying to show you this in some type of theatrical way. This isn't to be provocative. It is to get to the truth of those 176 deaths, the families that deserve to know, and the political ramifications of the same. Here it is slowed down. This is believed to be some type of incendiary device or missile. Now you'll watch as it hits. That's the explosion. This explosion is believed to be the airplane. Now you'll remember from the other night, okay? Do you remember this that we showed you? The video that someone took? This was believed to be, I hate when I do that. It was believed to be the airplane, okay? Now, do we still believe it was the airplane? I believe yes. We'll talk to David about it. And then eventually we saw this descend. All right, so this is the after impact of it being struck. This is the moment of impact, they believe. David, first of all, this video, does this, I know you've reviewed it already, does this look like what it appears to be, that something approached this aircraft and struck it?
It most definitely does. There's little question about what that is in my mind, if it's actually a valid video, which we have validated it at CNN, so it
All
does.
Right. So that's what it is. Now we get into, well, what was it? How did this happen? General Marks, the idea of Iranian capabilities. Spider, could they have done this?
Oh, absolutely. They have the SA-15, which is a Russian-made surface-to-air missile made in the early 80s, not particularly overly sophisticated, but it has some capabilities to go after particularly, cruise missiles is why it was developed, which means it has some incredible maneuverability. Bear in mind, by comparison, this is a slow-moving, ascending commercial aircraft
right.
with passengers.
So that takes us to the next question. And David, weigh in once I get the take from Spider here. How do you make this mistake? Do you not know what the plane is? Does the thing launch itself? I mean, what are the variabilities here that make it something other than, let's shoot down this plane?
Yeah, from the outside working in, first of all, you got the context of missiles being fired by the Iranians into Iraq almost simultaneously. So you have a very hot, contested, busy airspace over Iran. That's number one. Everybody's on a heightened level of alert, concern. There's a lot of chaos, and they have commercial flights still leaving the Tehran airport, which I think is just amazingly irresponsible.
Good point, Spider. Let's hold on that point
Iranians.
for a second. David, the idea that Iran would not clear the airspace during this, does this show how sloppy they are, how they don't really know what they're doing, or is there another explanation?
I can't think of another explanation, Chris. I'm really outraged about this because of the fact that U.S. has restrictions over this, but the passengers that were on that airplane had no idea that they were flying into this area. They weren't informed. They didn't know. They went through security. They were on the safest airplanes in the world. And then we fly it right into a war zone. It's just totally, as Spider said, it's just completely irresponsible.
So the lack of coordination that we would assume between air traffic and military and government just doesn't seem to happen. Now, Spider, your earlier point about when this was happening, do we know that this plane was taking off during the time of active missile bombardment by Iran?
I don't know. I've not seen any of the timelines in the sequencing of all that. But
so does it change, Spider, if it was after? The bombs had landed, it had been there, and while we were processing, this plane takes off and gets hit?
No, it does not matter at all. Look, we've got the context of all of this confusion, heightened levels of alert, people are concerned. This type of capability can be in an automatic mode or it can be in a manual mode. So there's a man either in the loop or there's a man on the loop and defers to the machine. I don't know which one of those was triggered at that time, but when this thing was launched, clearly it was probably done in an automatic mode, and the authority, delegated authority to have the launch take place had gone from some higher command and control authority down to the firing battery around the airfield. In other words, why would you delegate that authority? That's an incredibly aggressive step.
Now, a little bit of context.
Which talks about command and control. It's crazy command and control.
A little bit of context, Spider. Back in June, when they shot down that U.S. drone, they offered up an excuse of, hey, look, this wasn't a big part of a plan. There was some underling general that, made a bad call. This wasn't supposed to happen. Could that be the case here, that some dope decided to fire a missile in clear error of something that looks nothing like something coming to hit you, right? They're firing up at something that is clearly trying to move away from them, as you see the video, If we can get the video to play full again, they're obviously aiming at something going up and away, not coming down and at them. Is that something that you could just write off to being a dope and doing your job poorly?
Doing your job extremely poorly, horrible training, irresponsible command and control type of apparatus. This is a dangerous situation that we're talking about. Very crowded airspace with a lot of, as I've indicated, a lot of animosity and a lot of kinetic.
Does that sound like the Iranians to you?
Well, absolutely. And it also tells you about, having very tight command and control structures is not necessarily what you see. We see the militias that are associated with the IRGC as a matter of routine, doing their own thing over time. Local commanders making a decision to go execute some particular task. Well, where's the control mechanism that says, yeah, we want to do that? Where's the grander strategic view? Look, you might have local perceptions, but what is the overall strategy that we're trying to achieve here? And what's the mechanism in place to ensure that you can control that and moderate that behavior?
David, the ability to escape responsibility for this. There's this suggestion, they'll probably blame the United States. Well, how? Forensically, are you going to be able to determine where these missiles came from if they let the NTSB in on the investigation, as has been ping-ponged back and forth? The latest word is that Iran would let Boeing, the manufacturer, have a representative there, which may well be an NTSB rep to go. Would you be able to rule out that this was anybody but them? And then how do you escape responsibility?
Well, you would be able to rule out who it wasn't.
Right.
I don't know if you could say who it was or why they did what they did, but it's definitely, we can do rebuilds. If you remember the MH17 accident, that was a different missile. It was I believe it was the MR-56 Buk missile, but that was a different set. It was much more sophisticated. But at the same time, we were able to reconstruct it, show exactly where those penetrations went in, where they came from. And in fact, we know that it was 3 meters from the cockpit when that explosion happened and sending shrapnel into the airplane. So from this, we can take that shrapnel, take that aircraft and those pieces and do a reconstruction and find out nearly exactly where it exploded and the direction and which way it came from.
So the facts will show who has to own this. Whether it will be owned and what it means going forward, we're going to take up later in the show. But for this fact analysis and taking us through the video, Major General Spider Marks, thank you very much. David Soucie again,
Thank you, Chris.
2 nights in a row. Appreciate it.